Nearly 400,000 foreign laborers here in South Korea are reportedly undocumented.
The case shines a light on criminal gangs that prey on the world's most vulnerable migrants who flee violence and lack of opportunity to try and find a better life.
The plight of the Southeast Asia migrant worker in developed country is an urgent problem that requires immediately attention. As part of a diverse and important workforce across the various industries, these people often face systematic injustice and human rights violations. These videos highlight the urgent need for justice and equality for Southeast Asian migrant workers in developed countries.
Migrant workers are often getting unfair treatment because there is no policy or explicit law which protect them as workers. Therefore, other people or the hiring person seems to act arbitrarily towards them. They see the migrant workers as someone who physically or legally weak.
So it's only right that they get treated with some decency and fairness. Do you all agree? When we talk about the human right, we shouldn't have any borders because we all share the same human experiences, and it's on us to make sure everybody's right are looked after, no matter if they're moving around or not. These workers totally boost the economics of the countries they are in and play a huge role in all sorts of industries. But sometimes they end up in the messed up situation where they're taken advantage of and left in the bad spot.
Any migrant worker from any country should not be treated unfairly in Southeast Asia. Of course, the discourse about what is fair and what is not can be pretty subjective, and that can be the topic to be discussed further in improving the living condition and working condition of migrants around the world.
Tingginya migrasi tenaga kerja Indonesia dipicu oleh peluang kerja dalam negeri yang terbatas dan harapan akan pendapatan lebih tinggi dari pasar tenaga kerja luar negeri. Sekitar 50% pekerja migran Indonesia menyatakan alasan utama mereka memilih bekerja di luar negeri adalah keyakinan bahwa negara tujuan mereka memiliki standar hidup dan pertumbuhan ekonomi yang lebih baik dari Indonesia. Namun, bekerja di luar negeri dapat menjadi proposisi yang berisiko. Pekerja migran menghadapi berbagai risiko pada berbagai tahap proses migrasi, mulai dari kekerasan fisik dan seksual, hingga eksploitasi ekonomi dan perlakuan buruk melalui penolakan hak-hak dasar dan kondisi kerja standar.
Developed countries are depends on the Southeast Asia migrant worker in the various industry. However, migrant workers are treated unfairly and discriminated against because basic worker rights and protection are not provided, even though they are an important part of the workforce.
其实台湾的外籍移工人数已经高达74万，这74万的人口，基本上高于台湾的原住民族跟新住民，是数量非常庞大的一个族群，然后他们对台湾的贡献也非常的高，他们几乎承接了台湾的长照的需求。几乎解决了台湾农业缺工的问题，然后让台湾的中小企业或者是渔业。
In overall perspective, migrant workers' rights are not fully protected in Taiwan and didn't fit the standard of the international human rights law. First, they cannot change their employer as they wish. According to the Employment Service Act, only when you can prove you are victims of abuse by your employer, then you can change, transfer to another working place. For those migrant workers who cannot prove the evidence about abusing, they just flee away and become undocumented migrants. Second, many of them have to loan a huge amount of money in their home country when they go abroad. When they arrive Taiwan, they still have to pay the agency fee monthly, and it's a big economic burden for them. And third, discrimination. During the COVID-19 period, some factories or local government restrict the freedom of movement of migrant workers in Taiwan, and due to they are targeted as the virus carriers or spreaders. For the domestic care helper, they do not enjoy the rights in our labor law, and they don't have minimum wage, no holidays, Many of them are females and they're always facing sexual harassment or assault and their employer or other family members. For the domestic care helper, they do not enjoy any rights in our labor law. No minimum wage, no holidays. Many of them are females. They are always facing sexual harassment or assault by the employer or their family members. For the offshore fishermen, they are working on the boat for many months without communication with their family members or friends. It also happens that they are abused by the employer and no channel for them to seek help.
According to a survey of Koreans conducted in Korea in 2017, the discrimination scale against migrant workers in Southeast Asia was high, about 3 out of 5. This shows that many Koreans perceive migrant workers as outsiders, not citizens of Korea.
According to Korean labor law, when an employer wants to fire an employee, they have to inform them at least 30 days, or else they have to pay them wages for 30 days to get another job. While I was working in a restaurant in Seoul, I've seen a lot of cases like this. The migrant workers from Southeast Asian countries did not know about that they could get the wages for 30 days, or they could file a complaint to the labor office to get the money from their ex-employer. This is why I think that the migrant workers' rights in Korea is not getting fulfilled in Korea.
Meskipun kontrak kerja adalah dasar hukum yang menetapkan hak dan kewajiban pekerja migran dan pemberi kerja, nyatanya hanya sekitar 1/3 dari pekerja migran Indonesia saat ini yang menandatangani kontrak kerja sebelum keberangkatan. Sekitar 56% dari semua pekerja migran baru mengetahui tingkat gajinya setelah tiba di negara tujuan. Selain itu, data yang dicatat dari Kementerian Luar Negeri yang diterbitkan pada 2019, terdapat 437 kasus buruh migran yang meninggal, 507 kasus PHK sepihak, 151 kasus perdagangan manusia, 127 kasus kekerasan majikan, 1.233 kasus gaji tidak dibayar, 177 kasus hukuman mati, dan lain-lain.
Many cases about migrant workers in Southeast Asia, especially Indonesia, the data from the Indonesian Migrant Worker Protection Agency is truly shocking. In the last 3 years, an average of a day, 2 of migrant workers are back in the burial coffin. Some of them are victims of informal jobs abroad. Some even became slaves for working illegally. Their existence is also between there and non-existence because some of them are migrant workers who live illegally. In the span of the last decades, the story of such workers is a classic story that keeps repeating itself. Thus, in the short term, the restructuring of the Crimes Against Humanity Task Force may be the answer to the problem that have surfaced. But in the long run, cross-sectoral work is needed so that no more of migrant workers die in vain in other people's land.
They are neglected and vulnerable to the exploitation due to the unsafe working condition. They are often find it difficult to file a legal complaint for a human rights violation they experience due to the lack of written evidence, a lack of coverage of the labor law, discrimination, or language barrier.
한국 정부는 신체폭력, 성폭력 그리고 인종차별에 대해 규제를 하고 있으나 실질적으로 효과적이지 못합니다. 신체폭력이나 성폭력의 경우 외국인 노동자와 경찰과의 거리가 상당하며 신고를 하더라도 통번역 지원이나 법적 정보 전달 면에서 미흡합니다. 인종차별에 대하여는 상당히 심각한 사회적 차별이 있음에도 형법에 규정이 없어 형부사 처벌을 못하고 벌금이나 원고 정도에 그치고 있습니다. 외국인 노동자 지원센터라고 전체적인 분야에서 외국인 노동자들을 지원하여 실무적으로 좋은 성과를 거두는 국가기관이 있는데 내년도 예산이 전액 삭감되어 존폐가 위태로운 상황입니다.
Why are they discriminated? Why do employers do that? Are they just ignorant or they have evil intention towards the migrants? And what kind of mindset that nurtures such ill intention? So there is the problem in there, that people employing other people based on arrogance, based on the understanding or the view or perspective that they are better from their employees because they are the one who pay, because they are the one who employ them.
Is it truly heartbreaking to see that migrant worker is experiencing injustice in fulfilling their right to work? This is a crucial issue and required more attention.
Membiarkan para pekerja migran Indonesia mendapatkan bentuk-bentuk kekerasan dan tidak terpenuhinya hak mereka sebagai manusia merdeka merupakan sebuah ironi besar. Hal ini semakin memprihatinkan ketika mengetahui data dari Badan Perlindungan Pekerja Migran Indonesia yang mengatakan bahwa terdapat 529 aduan dari para pekerja migran Indonesia.
The discrimination still exists. More and more people aware the importance and the contribution by the migrant workers, understand the labor conditions they face. However, due to the lack of comprehensive long-term care system and low government expenditure on social welfare, the conflict between the employer and the migrant workers still exists.
As a regular civil society, I'm very concerned about the feeling of helplessness in facing something that actually torturing us. Therefore, we have to build our solidarity to support each other and build the awareness of the rights of migrant workers.
To enhance the protections of migrant workers, a collective effort involving the government, international organizations, civil society, employers, and most importantly, the migrant workers themselves is essential. And in the sense of migrant workers, they need to properly inform regarding their rights as migrant workers, and they also need to have an access to legal assistance. These actions not only empower the workers but also serve as an incentive for employers to offer improvement, working conditions, and fair wages. And additionally, government should prioritize the enforcement of agreed upon rules and conventions regarding the issue of the protections of migrant workers by focusing on the effective of implementation. And it's also vital to support and protect civil society, especially in raising awareness and advocating the workers, and also in holding the government accountable.
It is also important for us, Southeast Asian countries, to firstly give an example of how we should treat migrant workers fairly by fulfilling the rights of other migrant workers who are working here in our countries. If not, I think it's just hypocrisy. And we can do that by protecting their legal rights, educating people to not discriminate and generalize the migrants, having the law that require employers to be more culturally sensitive and have more patience, and surely being fair also toward the employers by putting attention to the rights and responsibilities of both employers and employees. Sometimes, reasons outside of the employer's control also impacting the migrant workers' conditions, such as economic instability and political turbulences in the country. So that's why we need to be comprehensive. Having audience with the employers, the migrant workers, and everyone who might be impacted by this working condition.
When I hear a hateful remark about migrant workers, I can say it's wrong, and I also can stay engaged with the issue of migrant worker rights and be concerned with policymakers and legislators who care about the issue. Second, the organization can continue to criticize policies or laws that are against migrant workers' rights. They also can help migrant workers organize themselves to have a voice or political action. Third, at the government level, the government should understand the social context or oppressions that migrant workers face, such as poor working conditions and sexual violence in the case of women, and so on.
There are programs to improve the revenues of migrant workers, but most people think that improvement of the program is necessary. It is said that almost all programs are only one time and lack of publicity. It seems necessary to continuously develop various programs, like focusing on mutual communication.
所以，其实台湾政府现在有意要去批准联合国的保护移工及其家人公约。那这个公约有个很重要的精神，就是这些国际移工在这个缔约国，或是这个公约生效的国家，应该要享有国民同等待遇的原则，也就是整个这个移工政策应该是让这个移工享有完整的人权，以及他的整个家人也要被考虑进来。那这个移工政策才是完整的，才是一个符合人权、符合人性尊严的移工政策。但这个公约，台湾政府迟迟的没有让它具有国内法的效力。我们呼吁台湾政府应该要尽快的去通过这个公约，然后依照这个公约的精神来重新调整整个台湾的移工政策，应该要往一个以人权为基础，甚至应该要开放，让这70几万的移工，让他们有机会，如果喜欢这块土地，让他们可以有一个可以规划成台湾公民的一个方向，一个路径。
Kita perlu mendorong pemerintah Republik Indonesia untuk meregistrasi dan memonitor para agen perantara melalui Badan Nasional Penempatan dan Perlindungan Tenaga Kerja Indonesia. Memastikan agen perekrutan menyediakan para pekerja migran dengan kontrak tertulis yang sepenuhnya dimengerti dan disetujui pekerja. Pemerintah Indonesia harus konsisten dalam mengimplementasikan konvensi internasional yang sudah diratifikasi lewat Undang-Undang Nomor 6 Tahun 2012 tentang Konvensi Internasional mengenai perlindungan hak-hak seluruh pekerja migran dan anggota keluarganya. Kita bisa terus bersuara untuk perlindungan dan pemenuhan hak pekerja migran. Dengan terus menyuarakan isu-isu yang mereka hadapi, kita dapat menciptakan perubahan positif dan meningkatkan kesadaran masyarakat tentang perlunya perlindungan hak pekerja migran.
So, it is important to speak out against this injustice, whereby advocating for their right, raising awareness about their situations, or supporting organizations that provide assistance to the migrant worker.
Sebagai negara yang memiliki jumlah pekerja migran lebih dari 3,7 juta orang, sudah seharusnya pemerintah Indonesia terus mengurangi dan memberantas keberangkatan pekerja migran ilegal dan keterampilan rendah. Karena pekerja migran yang ilegal dan hanya memiliki keterampilan rendah lebih cenderung atau rentan mendapatkan kekerasan, perdagangan orang, dan pekerjaan paksa. Tidak hanya itu, pemerintah Indonesia juga harus ratifikasi konvensi atau instrumen yang berkaitan dengan manajemen ketenagakerjaan pekerja migran dan perlindungan para pekerja migran.
我们应该要透过保障移工的人权，那这样才有可能获得一个比较好的照顾品质。对，如果我们将移工当作一个机器人，24小时让他们处于劳动状况，那其实是不太可能有好的照顾品质，那甚至很有可能会让照顾的现场产生巨大的风险。那这个应该是台湾政府要面对的，所以至少在家庭看护工，我们的劳动部跟卫福部应该要尽快的整合，让我们的长照体系可以将这一些本来就已经在解决长照问题的移工成为重要的这个长照人力，那同时也应该要兼顾他们的基本劳动权利。那这才是可以同时解决长照家庭需求跟同时解决移工人权的一个解放。
Dan sebagai aktivis muda, Untuk terus berkontribusi pada isu ini, hal yang bisa kita lakukan adalah dengan terus menyuarakan dan menyebarluaskan pesan-pesan kemanusiaan kepada seluruh dunia terkait perlunya dan pentingnya perlindungan terhadap pekerja migran.